All right, now let's go. Welcome to all of you who are watching at home. Leslie especially watching. Thank you. I'm grateful that you're there, and we're grateful for all of you who are watching. And we're grateful to have Carolyn with us tonight. Would you say hi to Carolyn? Hi, Carolyn. And it's great to have her here. I was actually thinking as is it Vivian was talking? You know what? This is just the perfect storm. The interface between chaplains and team volunteers and an eternal destiny's changed. Isn't it just about the most amazing thing that could ever happen? So I'm grateful for that. What we want to do tonight is, as you know, is we're going to turn back to page 28 in a moment and look at the passage of scripture there. But before we do, just general impressions, thoughts about your trip, thoughts about today, what disaster relief means to you, just things that didn't come by any specific question that I asked, but what are you thinking? What are you feeling? What's been your experience today?
My experience is that we don't give the office staff, Shannon, and them enough encouragement, enough praise for what they do, enough because they're the go-to person of this.
Yeah. I think we fail to realize the load that they carry. In fact, I was having this conversation just a few minutes ago, standing in line at the shower because some of y'all went before me, and I had to wait till the very last one. Doesn't matter.
Oh boy.
But anyway, I was having this conversation, and it was his first deployment. I said, you know, the cool thing about it is that it doesn't matter whose name is there. It's the same protocol. They do the same work at every place. It's just a different name. But this one is unlike any deployment we've been on, in the sense that Shannon's doing all of this by herself. No help. I mean, Christy's in the office, but no help at all. And I want to applaud her. You want to just say, Shannon, and she takes it so easily, and you just don't realize what a huge load she's carrying. So when you get a chance, just say, Shannon, I want you to know that we see Christ in you. We see you. I don't know what the numbers are in terms of volunteers. This is a relatively large deployment. I guess today they probably had, what, 80 volunteers, and just on her own. And you probably don't realize the logistics of doing two different locations, having everybody staged here or housed here and then staged at the Coke plant. It's just she was still at the Coke plant when we left, and had to come right here and jump in to make sure dinners were. I think I want you to be sure to just say thank you, because almost every part of whatever experience we have has come because God's used Shannon.
That's amazing to me, because we came in at 10 o'clock or something other, and she said, you got to go through the orientation, so that'll be at 12:30, and we looked like we were about died or something, I don't know what, but she said, well, who are you? Well, we've been waiting for you all morning. We're going to do orientation right now. And she dropped everything. I didn't have a clue that she was by herself.
Alone, totally alone. And I don't mean that, I mean, I know, because I actually asked her if she liked Christy, and I wanted to see what she said. And
What'd she say?
huh? Well, we need to turn this off before we do that. No, she said Christy was a lifesaver, and we're delighted to have her, and if we could have her back tomorrow, we'd love to have her, not tomorrow, just tomorrow, but the rest of the week. But all I'm saying is that she didn't beg us for help. She just, when we volunteered,
You had to force her almost.
we had to almost force Christy on her. No, none of us wanted to take her, and so so but I just, Well, but what I'm saying is that whenever you see Shannon, she's first one up, last one to bed, and every part of a good experience you had this week is because she's on task with nobody to help her, and I just applaud them. I applaud them. And, so I want you to know that. Other general experiences, it is good to welcome Glenn and Daniel. This is Dan, in case you haven't met, this is Glenn's son, Daniel, and he drove in from Indiana today, and it's great to have them here. This will be Glenn's probably 6th or 7th or 8th deployment. This is Dan's first, so wait till he gets a little bit deeper into it before you start treating him like we treat everybody else.
He already saw who you were, so
Huh?
he already knows who you are, so that's
And
Oh, yeah.
exactly.
he's still here. Well, the cool thing is they showed up just when we were finishing Joe's house this morning, and we were taking a picture in front of all of the debris and everything, so that it looked like we had a picture of all the things we were doing. And they just jumped right in, like as if they had even carried a stick, and were right there in front of the pile, taking the picture with us and taking all the glory. And so on the picture, it's going to say, "Not real workers." But it was fun to have them.
It's Photoshop, right?
It's Photoshop. There you go. Photoshop. Somebody else, just general impressions. What, especially some of you guys, this is your first trip. What are you seeing? What are you experiencing? Really?
I kind of had a conversation with Christy this afternoon. I didn't realize that Samaritan Purse basically operates on a first come, first served basis.
Yeah.
And I had this written down under my God moment, but I think every homeowner we've served so far has either been very elderly, a caregiver, mostly widows.
Can we just interrupt you a moment? Can we say as a team what a blessing your sharing was tonight?
I wish we'd recorded it.
Yeah, we wish we'd have recorded it. In fact, we're sitting here as you're talking saying, this is why we do what we do. Just because of what God did in you. Thank you.
And isn't it better when you hear it from the homeowner?
Oh my goodness.
We try to explain
Yeah.
it, it's just not the same, is
Yeah.
it?
No.
You know?
You're,
Exactly right.
whether you know it or not, your heart touched our hearts. Thank you. Thank you. I'm sorry, Steve.
That's okay. But care of widows and orphans, that's true religion.
That's true religion.
It's just worked out so far that everyone that we've served has either been a widow or a caregiver for their mother,
Yeah.
they're already elderly themselves, or both in some cases. So it's just been kind of amazing the way God's worked that out.
It is amazing how He works this out, that people who really need what we offer, or what Samaritan's Purse offers, get it. And how amazing! It just we had the same experience with our team. They and I'm sure you on Leaf's team or Seven's team. Okay. It's been the same for all of us. It's just like it's kind of like God knows who to send us to.
It's not kind of like that. It is like that. I'm going to take that word from you. Sorry.
I meant it as an understatement. But it is just amazing that it happens, and I mean the probably all of us, if we listed where we were today, it was kind of like people said, we knew God was coming through for us, and you're it. You were going to say something? No. Okay. But it's just it is amazing. The cool thing is we were working. Our last house today was a guy that we couldn't figure out his name. We kept calling him Freddie and Frankie, and in fact she refused to even take his picture because she wanted to take a picture of Frankie and our Freddie, and he's Frankie. But the point is, his next door neighbor, it's the only young guy we worked for. Only young guy we've worked for. His next door neighbor came over, and we talked last night about they're not related, but there's this sense of family in this area that we work with, and he came over and he said, look, I just got a tree down over here, and could y'all help me? And I'm thinking, well, goodness gracious, you're 30 years old and a muscle-bound guy. The part of you that says, I'll do it yourself. You don't say that, and you know it's the enemy, and you quickly get past it, but there's a part of me, and then he said, listen, you know what? And he wasn't trying to convince me to do it. He was saying, my church doesn't know. They're right here in Albany. They don't know about Samaritan's Purse. And I'm thinking, he says, if y'all will do that, I want a team picture that I can put on my church Facebook page.
And that's all he wanted.
And that's all he wanted. He really just wanted his church to understand why we're here. And it took us less than 20 minutes to take down his crazy tree, hauled it off, and changed the world just by a bunch of orange shirts on his church Facebook page. Isn't that amazing? And my point is, my human reaction is so typical. It gets in God's way of doing what God does. And fortunately, it didn't get out of my... You can pull up a chair and sit if you want to.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
And I wrote that down there in the first 2 blocks now.
But you need to understand, if you sit here, you get treated like everybody else, Justin. So
I went through a similar
Yeah, that's giving us a good life here.
issue today. Both houses we did, they were somewhat well-to-do.
yeah.
You know, one looked like a retirement facility, retirement elderly, you know.
Yeah.
And one person lived there. And they already had pulled out 20 trees, and we were called in just to kind of clean up the area. Little branches all over, big stacks, and I'm thinking, you know, there's hundreds of ones that are.
Well, you've got 25 in your book.
Yeah, and there must be a purpose for it, you know. Went through it, rain and everything else, or, you know, and our great chaplains came in afterwards, and she was wonderful. She's 90 years old, a widower, a 1-year-old widower, and a great family, part of the community. Just wonderful family, and the daughter joined us for a long time. Her job called her, says, power's out, they'll come on in. She joined us, you know, but the enemy could nag at you saying,
Why
you
would
waste
you?
your time, and tonight you figure there's purpose for it somewhere.
Yeah.
And they're really strong believers. The second one, wonderful woman, wonderful, beautiful home. I took out big trees already, and just wanted some small stuff taken out. And one big log, which the chainsaw guys took up and all carried up there, and still the enemy kind of can pounce on you to give you a chance.
Yeah.
And you realize each rendezvous here is for a purpose, and might affect somebody later on in your family.
Yeah, and that's part of the reason for us to do this every night, is to remind ourselves that all of us have these instant on human reactions that are designed to keep our focus off of the fact that we don't know whether it's going to be this week or next month or next year, that something that has happened while we've been on their property, or while they've seen an orange shirt or a blue shirt, something's going to resonate with them. And what if it's next month and we don't get to see it, we don't get to know anything about it? In fact, our very first deployment with Samaritan's Purse was probably 4 years ago in Johnson County, Kentucky. We worked on a guy's house, and a young guy named Paul living with his girlfriend, and they wouldn't even pray with us. They wanted nothing to do with us. And it was our first experience, and well, look, we came all the way from Florida to Kentucky. I was born in Kentucky. You ought to at least like us. But my point is, you have those human emotions, like, this ought to turn out better than that. And we went through the deployment. We were there a week. They came to eat with us, had some really bad experiences with some things that happened at dinner that night. But I got a letter from them 8 months later saying, you know what? We were so touched by your team sharing the gospel with us that we just gave our lives to Jesus Christ. We just got married, and we're going to spend the rest of our lives serving Him. And it just happened 8 months after we left because of us not doing anything crazy because it made us mad that they didn't like us as well as we thought they would. You understand what I'm saying? Is that just because we don't see it now doesn't mean it's not going to happen. And some seed is sown on hard soil, some sown on good soil, and we don't get to see it. You're making a difference. You're making a difference. Can I just say that when Vivian walked in tonight, I mean, I know she had this experience, whether you experience it or not, just by the sheer numbers of people sitting in seats in this room that she never got to talk to. Her impression of Samaritan's Purse exponentially changed, because it's not just a team of 8 or 11 or whatever you had. It's now 80, and you realize, wow, there's a lot of people. That's cool. Somebody else.
Well, it goes to keywords. You know, and last night's keyword was sovereignty.
Sovereignty. Yeah.
And tonight, the keywords, and Carolyn and I had spoke about it, and what a privilege it is that God chose me. And those words had already, before Vivian had said that, I had already had a conversation with someone earlier today, and had to let them know, because of what they were going through at that moment, that God chose them. And then she comes and says that, and it was just confirmation. So those are keywords. It's a privilege to know that it doesn't matter why we're here. We're here for God, and He chose us.
Yeah.
If it's to pick up one stick or one rock off one property where the people make millions, it
That's
doesn't
why
matter.
Susan felt
God
comfortable
chose us.
yesterday, that one stick and one rock.
But I just
You're
think
right.
that's, looking at it through that lens is, He chose me.
He chose us. He chose us. Just say it right out loud. He chose me. Say it right out loud.
He chose me.
I know you're having a hard time staying awake, so.
No, I said it. He chose me.
Yes, he did you. He chose you more than he chose all the rest of us. We had a hard time getting you on this trip.
Oh, for some reasons, but not because I didn't want to
Yeah,
be here.
no, I'm just kidding. But
The one
that's
thing-
amazing, isn't it?
Go ahead.
He chose
She
you.
was getting ready to say
Hang on.
something.
She was saying something.
The one thing that I noticed and really loved about this trip, and it being my first time coming on to something like this, is the way the relationships develop.
Yeah.
They develop so quickly, and you work side by side with somebody that you would think you have known your whole entire life, your brother, your sister. You're turning, and they're already there ready for you.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's holding a bag or shoveling something or raking and shoveling together. The brother-sisterhood that develops over such a small period. And you could have spoken to this person once and see him in the hallway, and you're giving each other hugs.
Isn't that amazing?
It is an amazing thing. It's an amazing feeling, and it feels like a long-term friendship that you've developed, and a brother-sisterhood. And
Yeah.
the true meaning of brother-sisterhood, I really understand where it comes from now because of the beginning of this trip.
Yeah.
Just meeting somebody or sitting on the bus and asking them 4 questions.
Yeah.
And now in the hallway, it's, hey, like, I've known them my whole life. And when I see them on the next trip, it's going to be the same way where we never left off.
Yeah.
But it was only this small amount of time that we even were around each other, and it's amazing. It
Yeah.
is an
Think about this. In fact,
feeling.
as we were walking back after the team meeting last night, and Stacy was expressing this. She says, every person I look at, I know what tattoo they'll have. How amazing is that? That's the way you will be identified, and that's cool. Somebody else, just general impressions. We'll look at the specifics in a moment, but yeah.
Well, a highlight that I had today, which includes in my impression, was photographing my friend Nancy while she learned how to use a chainsaw.
Isn't that amazing?
Yes, and she
Yeah.
had a phenomenal teacher, so I didn't have to worry about her. I knew she was in good hands, but it was just so cool to see it. I told her I had so much fun taking pictures of her doing that, it was just a really cool experience. And then, of course, picking a little bit of cotton out of the cotton
Yeah,
I just
this
thought
is a
that
God
was-
moment for a lot of
I
us.
just thought that
I don't
was-
know if you know that, but
Right.
our team got to pick cotton today.
Oh, hold on. Your team also got Krispy Kreme donuts?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
That's out of the bag.
We got
Pretty
cookies.
special.
Special cookies from our chaplain.
The chaplains did not bring us anything, but
You know why?
no, I don't know why. Can you explain it to us?
Back to the Krispy Kreme.
Back to the
Yeah.
no, not back to picking cotton. How many besides our team has ever had the chance of picking cotton? You? Well, Charlie, if I'd have known that, we wouldn't have felt so special.
When I was
I
8 years
still
old,
feel
I picked
special.
cotton.
Really?
Wow.
Wow, that's just an amazing thing. While we're talking about that, though, the homeowner's property backed up to a huge cotton field, and this is things you don't think about with the storm. He said that it was white with cotton, and he said this will be trashed. This homeowner or this owner lost everything, and I said, well, what's it worth? And he said, well, the field you see here is about $100,000. And it's gone.
Okay, I'm getting text that they can't hear.
Is that because they didn't turn up the volume, or because I'm not talking loud enough?
According to the volume bar, you're not talking loud enough.
All right. But anyway, just when we leave tonight, if you see one of our team, just congratulate them, because only Charlie knows what it's like picking cotton. And
Do it all
the rest-
day and your hands will bleed.
Huh?
Do it all day and your hands will bleed.
No, we didn't pick that long. We didn't do anything long enough for our hands to bleed.
Pastor, the other thing I wanted to say about homeowners, it's been interesting to me because sometimes you'll say just a few little words to us about the homeowners before we get there, and sometimes that leaves me with an expectation. And I have to say, when we were going to Tommy's, the vet,
Tommy, yes.
I just had an expectation in my head, and it wasn't, what I wish it had been. But when we met him, I was really impressed with him. He had a softness to him that I really didn't expect.
Yeah.
And also, at the beginning when we got there and you asked if we could pray, I think you asked him that, if we could pray for something about him. And he's been, I guess he's in remission from cancer and he has COPD. But both things he said were real positive. Like, well, I have been blessed because I'm in remission, and I have been blessed because, I forget what it was about the COPD. But I thought, that's what keeps a lot of these people going, is that they are thankful, not just for us, but
Yeah.
for things in their lives. And also with Frankie, at the end, sometimes with the homeowners, they say things and I'm not really truly sure, and I don't go into any detail with them, if they have a relationship with
Right.
the Lord, or they kind of know what to say, because
Yeah.
we all have relatives who know what to say, right? And but when we were taking the pictures at the end and the bicycle and everything like that, it was like we were laughing and having such a fun time with these three men. And I thought, God could even use that if their hearts aren't exactly where he wants them to be,
Yeah.
Especially the younger guy and the guy on the bike. I thought God could even use that because we're just having fun with them. We've done something to help them, and with them, and carrying on a little bit. And I thought, it was really good for me. I mean, honestly, they talk a lot about problems in Albany, or however they pronounce the name of this
Albany.
town.
Albany.
Albany. Okay. This place, I think our being there is doing like phenomenal things just for race relations on a small note, just being so comfortable with people and them seeing how much we care and us seeing how real they are and how thankful they are. That kind of stuff does a lot for me.
Yeah.
So it's been a really good thing.
Well, you probably know this, and I'm not. This is not a racist thing, or it's not derogatory, but Albany is predominantly black, and here we are, a bunch of white people showing, and I don't mean in anything at all about the color. It's just what an opportunity to indicate that we come as servants, and I think that's the thing that's
Unity.
That's unity, and that's what Samaritan's Purse offers us, the opportunity to break down barriers and just be servants. There is no color to servanthood, there isn't, and in fact, Julian, I think, prayed this, or she made this statement, maybe it was in one of her prayers with one of the homeowners, that we have come to wash their feet, not literally, but figuratively. And can you imagine anything that does more to bring unity than to wash the feet of someone who has been told by our culture that somehow we're different? And that's just really, really huge. I'm so grateful for that. All right, let's go to page 28. I know that a lot of you got back in late, and some of you had phone problems, so you didn't really get a chance to read as much. But
Oh, goodness.
I did tell you, you know this, that my spiritual gift is aggravation, so and sarcasm. So I need
I'm
to
glad
use
you finally explained it.
yeah.
The chapter of Hezekiah.
Excuse me?
Where in Hezekiah did you find that?
Where did Hezekiah?
Look, she's part of the team.
She's part of the team. You know you're part of the team when we can call you out about things. In fact, we almost kicked her out and sent her home at least once today. After standing in line for hours to get a shower, and she says, "Could I have your space?"
Oh.
Well, you didn't exactly say it that way, but
People who conceal their sins will not.
well, I wasn't expecting you to read it. Okay, so we're on page 28, and as you notice, because these are short proverbs, and this is the first time I've done proverbs. It's not the touchy-feely stuff, but there's really powerful message in these passages of Scripture. We want to look at both of them, and you can combine these three questions into one and offer it any way you want. But I need to hear from you. What would you say in this first passage? And let me just read it out loud. And again, I'm using the New Living Translation because I love the wording of it. People who conceal their sin will not prosper, but if they confess and turn from them, they'll receive mercy. Blessed are those who fear to do wrong, but the stubborn are headed for serious trouble. Say that in your own words. What does it mean, and how would you apply it? What difference does this make?
I'm going to speak on this one. As a wife, and the unity of Christ and the covenant oneness that God has created in marriage. To me, what that means is to be free of your bondage. Is to confess that to your spouse, confess that to your pastor, and be devoted. And how are you devoted to that? By confessing.
Yeah.
Like
what's the
continues.
opposite? And you're saying this. What's the opposite of confessing?
Concealing.
Concealing. Keeping it secret. Am I the only one that thought that if I didn't say it, God wouldn't know it? I mean, have you not been through times in your life when you just felt like, you know what, if I don't say this out loud, somehow God doesn't know it? And this entire thing is going to come, when you read those two verses, you're going to come away realizing that concealing doesn't keep it from other people. It prevents you from experiencing this amazing thing
Freedom.
that God offers.
Mm-hmm.
And what one thing does He offer in that verse?
Forgiveness.
Mercy.
Mm-hmm.
How do you define mercy? Define mercy for me. Tell me what it means. What's mercy?
Not receiving what you deserve.
Mercy is not getting what you deserve. Absolutely true. So what's the secret? Does anybody, speaking of having gratitude that Susan said, are you grateful that you didn't get what you deserve?
Mm.
Absolutely. Yeah. And what's the only thing that keeps us from having this mercy? Keeping it secret. Keeping it secret. You don't confess it to us tonight. We don't want to know. But let me just ask. No, seriously. I want to ask you point blank. Is there anything in your life that you know displeases God, And you think as long as we don't have that discussion humanly, that you're going to get by with it? Can I tell you that the only one that suffers is us? Because there is a bucket full of mercy, and the only thing that stops that flow is secret. That's it. That's a pretty amazing passage, isn't it? Those who conceal the sin will not prosper, but if they confess it and turn from it, they receive mercy. Y'all remember that old song, Mercy Drops? Around, yeah. And they're free. They're free. Man, that's why I'm here tonight. I don't know about you, but that's why I'm here. It's because there was I can take, never mind. I can take you to places. But what I'm saying is that I can take you to places all over the country where I finally decided to confess this to God, and there are mile markers in my mind that says, "Wow, mercy flowed free there." And y'all have those places in your mind where you can remember where confession brought mercy. How stupid to keep it hidden. Somebody else, what? Say it in your words. What's it mean, and how do you apply it in your life? Yeah, Charlie.
Admit your indiscretions, sins, faults. Understand change starts with a sincere confession, open realization of the fault. Yeah. Fear the Lord. Admit the desire for change and pray for Christ's being in you. Pray that act as you wish to be.
Amen. Good stuff, yes. Charlie. Good stuff. Somebody else. There's our hero guy. Just want you to know that. His name's David. Thank you.
Boy, there's an overstatement.
Say it in your own words. What's it mean, and how do you apply it? Help me here. Talk to me.
Well, we know that if we conceal our sins, but sometimes I believe there's a place for maybe the end of the day, the end of the week, and just to look back at our lives. Because sometimes we get to a place where we become insensitive to what's going on. And so when the Holy Spirit brings something, I reading this, the thing that came in my mind was Nathan, the prophet, going to David and talking to David. And I'm sure David knew what he did. Yeah. But when the Holy Spirit revealed that, look what you did. Yeah. It's like God. Yeah. It's merciful.
It's an amazing thing. Are you familiar with Psalm 32? You know that after Nathan confronted David with his sin, and you are aware of the fact, I know, that David had this adulterous relationship with Bathsheba, but nobody in the kingdom cared, because David put on a smiling face. He continued to be a really good king. They loved David, and so everything outwardly was going fine. And when Nathan confronted him and David confessed his sin, in Psalm 32, you can read it. It says for this entire, it didn't use the dates, but it says for this entire year, I looked back and realized my bones ached with the secret of my sin. The smile was there. His performance as a king was there. Everything was good outwardly, but David admitted, this has eaten my heart. This has eaten my bones. It's anguish for a year. And David didn't come to this on his own. He didn't wake up one day and say, you know what, I'm tired of living this way. If Nathan hadn't confronted him, he would have continued to go through the motions with the smile on his face and everybody telling him what a great guy he was. But if you don't confess it, the mercy that God's got there, you don't get to experience. I don't know about you, but I don't want to miss out on mercy. Do you? I don't want to miss out on mercy. Somebody else. What do you hear? What do you see? what's it say in your own words, and what's it mean, and how do you apply it?
Pastor Rick, 2 things for me. Many times I conceal my sin by confessing them to the Lord.
Yeah.
And not to anybody else.
Mm-hmm.
And so I give myself
Yeah.
A pass because I have done my confession and move on.
Yeah.
And so I think in our culture in particular, we need to engage with confession one to another as well too.
Yes.
So you talked about obviously not doing it online and you know, right at this point, but I don't want us to consider that we don't need to be confessing
With
to
one
people.
another, right.
Yeah.
And then you also brought in something else there with Nathan, and the word confrontation is often a very difficult word, or if I'm going to confront you, it's an aggressive word. But the confrontation that Nathan brought was a loving, freedom
Absolutely.
confrontation.
Yeah.
And I think many of us know that our brothers or sisters or real family, blood family, or just friends, there's something's going on,
Yeah.
and we hesitate to confront when we should be pressing into that confrontation to lead
Yeah.
to the opportunity of real confession that leads to mercy and freedom.
Yeah,
Mhm.
absolutely true.
Amen.
2 things that I would add to that. Number 1, and you need to understand this, Nathan did not confront David because Nathan didn't like the way David was living. Nathan confronted David because God sent him to confront him. Have you ever just looked? I mean, in fact, I did this with my kids, and I had to be chastised by my family. I have a son that 40 years old, degree in Christian ministry, and the day he got his diploma from Indiana Wesleyan University with a degree in Christian ministry, walked off the platform, got in my truck to drive back to Florida, and said, "Oh, by the way, Dad, I don't believe in God." And I found myself, I mean, after the guy, he has a call to ministry. God's called him to pastor. He doesn't think he believes in God. And so I found myself wanting to confront him every time I saw him. I want to change his life. I want to change his life. And finally, my family had to say, "Do you realize that you're not confronting him because God has sent you to say that? You're confronting him because you want to change his behavior." And I think the thing about Nathan that was so cool, if you feel like you need to say something, make sure God has given you permission. Don't go doing this on your own. It's a pretty hard thing to be successful. When the Holy Spirit sends you, that's a different thing. It really is. I don't know about you, but I have some people that I know that confrontation is kind of like a joy trip for them. And what they're saying is right, and what they're asking for is right. It just doesn't come from God. So make sure you pray through on this. I pastored a church in Sedona, Arizona. I had a guy who took me to lunch every month, and he would bring a 3-page, single-spaced list of things he didn't like about me every single month. And I kept going to lunch with him, thinking that maybe
You were going to
one
change
of us
him.
was going to change. But finally, God just gave me the words to say. And I said to him one day, I said, "Bill, we had been out probably once a month for at least 6 months. And I said, listen, here's what I'm going to tell you. Don't bring your list until you can tell me you've been on your knees praying for me about things on this list. And then when you have, then you come and we can talk, because you will have come with the Spirit of God." So that's an important thing. Confrontation. God will often use you, but make sure you hear from him. Second, Daniel, let's just put a word to what he said about this change thing. We call it restitution. Okay? Restitution is when you decide the forgiveness is real, I've received it from God, but I need to make some things right. I need to share this with people. Have you ever hurt somebody and God confronted you over it and you confessed it to God, as Daniel said, and now you feel better about it, but the person still doesn't know that you are any different than you were when you did it, when you said it, when you did. Those are the things that really are important. Somebody else, real quick, before we go to the next passage.
I was just let y'all know I've been with Samaritan Purse for about a year, and I was telling y'all this. I accepted Jesus Christ in my life last year through Samaritan's Purse, and it's still changing me.
Yeah.
And I want to tell you, this is like iron sharpening iron. Since I've been with Samaritan Purse, I've been writing stuff about them too. If y'all want to hear it, I got it in my notebook right here. If y'all want to hear what I wrote about it.
We'll do it another time, but thank you. That's
Awesome.
cool. Here's
Yeah,
the fruit of what you do. And a year later, volunteer. That's the most amazing thing. In fact, if y'all have people in your church, that do not know the Lord, right there.
Right there,
Charlie Cook. Remember when she was talking about old people tonight?
West
We all thought of Charlie.
West Monroe, Louisiana.
West Monroe, Louisiana.
Louisiana.
69 years old. I don't know if he had never owned a Bible, but I don't think he ever read a Bible.
Yeah.
Came to church every Sunday just because he was
'Cause I
forced to
needed
come to
breakfast
church.
afterwards.
He needed breakfast afterwards. And he went to West Monroe, and a chaplain led him to a personal relationship with Jesus
She didn't
Christ.
lead me. She chased me down.
She
and-
chased you down. And when we have a chance sometime, you ought to hear the story that God actually prepared his heart because the light came shining through the
3:30,
door.
3 o'clock in the morning.
3 o'clock in the morning with a cross at the foot of his bed, and scared him scared him right into heaven. But the cool thing is that's what this is all about, and that's what Justin's talking about. Somebody else, we need to go to the second passage here. Anything else with the Proverbs 28:13 and 14? Do you agree with me that is a really important passage?
Yep.
There are two words in there that are three words that are key. Conceal, robs, stubborn robs, but confession offers mercy. You don't remember anything else about this deployment? You don't remember anything else we talked about? You remember this. Concealing robs. Stubborn robs, but confession brings mercy. That's cool. Proverbs 23, 4 and 5. A totally different concept, totally different venue, or different focus. Well, that's pretty powerful too. Proverbs 23, 4 and 5. Don't wear yourself out trying to get rich. Be wise enough to know when to quit. In the blink of an eye, wealth disappears. Welcome to Albany, Georgia. For it'll sprout wings and fly away like an eagle. That's pretty impressive. What's it say in your own words? What does it mean? And how does it make a difference in your life? Help me here. Just
I have something.
yeah.
I said, God is in control, and He gives, but He can take away.
He gives, but he takes away. Absolutely true.
I say in that scripture, that parallels to us even being like a vapor.
Yeah.
You know, earthly riches, just like us, are a vapor.
Yeah.
Here one moment and then gone the next.
Yeah. It's exactly right.
I remember when we were serving in Tennessee after the fire.
Gatlinburg, yeah.
Gatlinburg, and there was a couple, strong believers, were sitting on their balcony of their house up in the mountains.
Yeah.
Gorgeous home. And they were telling a story. They got out that they saw the fire from a distance. Said, "No, it's not going to bother us." They're on the balcony and said, "We just love our house. It's just our dream home kind of thing." And just loved it and said, "Well, we'll go to dinner tonight." They went in town to go to dinner. They came back, and their house was ashes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Great people.
Great people.
It happens to the just and the unjust. It happens.
Yeah.
For a purpose.
And right around the corner from them, we worked on another house that was $1 million, $1.5 million house. I was telling somebody today, you probably could imagine this. The ashes of a $100,000 house look exactly like the ashes of $1 million house. They do. I'm just telling you. The only difference is the footprint. But I'm serious, and So here's a guy in $1 million house, $1.5 million house. Right around the corner is a guy in a $150,000 beautiful house. Both of them come home and it's gone. In fact, the guy that Ken's talking about is the one that Glenn presented the Bible to. And here's a guy who treasured that. The guy in the $1 million house, $1.5 million house, the only thing he took home from it was 2 bones of his cat. I'm serious. That's all we found in all of his ashes. It'll sprout wings and fly away.
I look at it compared to our soul for salvation, like a thief in the night. Why wait? Why give it a chance? Kind of like a thief in the night.
Yeah.
Gone.
Just don't wear yourself out. Seriously, think about it. I mean, think about it. Wouldn't you rather wear yourself out serving on a team with a Vivian as a result, or go home to some new something you built in your house? How would you? Don't wear yourself doing it. Don't wear yourself out. Be wise enough to know when enough is enough.
Yeah.
Who do you want to supply your riches? God or you? That's what he's saying. Somebody else. What
my take on that was more of not so much as riches in some situation, but keeping up with the Joneses that you don't like and they don't like you.
Yeah.
But you have to impress people.
Yeah.
And the impression you have to work 2 jobs. You have to do all of that because you have to make people think you're there. And or like some people would say to me, well, you don't want to outlive your retirement. And I'm like, well, do you sure you're going to live to retire? That's what Jesus said about that man who said he had wealth laid up and he's going to build a bigger barn. And
tonight your soul will be required of you. In fact, I was having this conversation with Randy earlier, and we were talking about you all could put names and faces to this. You're saying, in my church we have people who are passionate about serving God, and that's a minority in the church. And then you have some people who you can count on if it doesn't really mean too much. And you have all these people who 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock, whatever your service time is, they come and they're a part of that. But don't expect me to be involved in anything more than that. Isn't that what he's talking about here? What's the reason people, and let me just put it in this context because we're all here and we obviously aren't guilty of not doing this. What's the reason people don't do disaster relief? It's because we got too many things going on. It's not because it costs too much. It's $200 for us. You can get here and see Vivian as a result. How many of you would agree that it's worth $200 out of your pocket to hear Vivian's story, and most of us didn't even meet her? But the reason it doesn't happen is because we can't lay it down. We can't lay life down. That's what he's saying. Don't wear yourself out. Somebody else. What do you see? What's it say in your own words? What's it mean? How does it change your life?
Well, I answered all 3 questions the same way. It's not about the money.
It's not about the money. It's not about the money. Go ahead.
I don't know that we know how to sacrifice.
We don't know how to sacrifice.
And we're called to be a living sacrifice to the Lord.
Yeah. Think about it. Think about it. As Americans, we have a right to what we have and a right to pursue more. No third world Christian would ever believe that the kingdom does not come with sacrifice. Our culture teaches us to disobey right here, doesn't it? We don't know how. So let me ask you this. When you go home, how are you going to be different in terms of sacrifice? What are you going to do? What are you going to do? Make it different. All right, let's go back to page, what is it? 15?
It's 8:30, by the way.
It's 8:30?
Yeah.
Good. And that means what?
That means we've already been on 50 minutes.
Oh, good.
So you got 10 minutes left.
Well said.
Yes.
I'm speaking for other people too.
I'm just going to tell you, there's no mercy if you...
Good thing it comes from God, not
It's a
you.
good thing it comes from God. All right, let's do this quickly. Number 2, what'd you see today? You may have already shared that, but we won't spend a lot of time. Number 2, page 14.
A neat organization that I'm glad to be part of.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, Leslie served in the office doing what you're doing. She didn't do so much the phone calls, but she served in the office in New Bern. And she came away saying the same thing. We think this just happens. It doesn't just happen. This is a smooth, well-organized organization. And as I said, every place is the same. Their guidelines determine how they act. Somebody else, what'd you see? Yeah.
Teamwork and people appreciating what we're doing.
Isn't that cool? Susan called it gratitude a while ago. You just sense gratitude in every homeowner. They say it differently. It looks different on their face. But the bottom,
they look appreciative.
They
don't
do.
have to say it.
And as we were walking away from Tommy, one of our homeowners, there's this crusty old Vietnam vet that 13 had a great chance to talk to, but here's this guy, Vietnam vet, tears in his eyes, saying, I can't believe you old people do this. I'm serious, that's what he said. He said, you didn't bring a bunch of teenagers. You brought a bunch of people who had other things they could be doing and not be sore at the end of the day. It takes so little to be above average. Did I say that last night? No. What'd you see today? What'd you see? Somebody else, quick.
I saw, and I mean this in 2 different ways. We saw it yesterday, we saw it today, we see it around the community, family taking care of family.
Yeah.
But that's one kind, family taking care of family, daughters taking care of mothers. Family of God taking care of family of God.
Isn't that amazing? And doesn't that give definition to the fact that Paul says that we are, some are hands and some are feet and some are noses and some are ears and some are something else. And so all of the family taking care of family couldn't do what this part of the family could do. Mm-hmm. So had we not come, the family that's taking care of family could have done the medical nurturing kind of thing, but there would have been a whole bunch of it left undone. And what it really says is that it takes all of us, doesn't it? Isn't that what it says? Somebody else, what'd you see?
I just wanted to note to Peggy today that you were really nice to me. You loaned me your hairdryer, and that was part of being a family of God.
Let me get this straight. So the phone consumed a bunch of it, and the hairdryer took the rest of it. Nancy.
Bad night.
Yes.
Yeah, but you had a great day, didn't you?
Thank you.
Good for you.
Good hair day.
Under Leaf's direction and continuous direction, godliness, I saw the coordination that our team had, but the youth, the kids stepped up. Justin and Philip and Liz really led the way, and the rest of the team supported them, and they were moving ahead. And so you're talking about the old people, but
yeah.
I see transition into the new people, and Greg sitting over there. But I see you can be a helper. You don't have to be the one at point. Yeah. Justin led point with the saw today, and Philip and Liz is amazing. But everyone else gladly stepped behind and did what they had to do.
Isn't that amazing? I do think it brings the challenge of this, though. If you just look over the group, some of us are not going to be here 10 years from now, and if Jesus tarries, our task is to bring youth into this. What's going to happen when our age, our generation, no longer does this? And so I think not in these things with Gregory and Justin and the young ones you were talking about, they bring light to it. but there aren't enough of them. And our task is to somehow
invest in them.
Invest in them. Invest in them. Here's what I'd like for you to do. I'd like for you to go home and find one young person that you would bring on a disaster relief trip with you. Somebody that you would bring.
Does that under 50 or?
Yeah, we
they could be under 65 and still be young. Yeah, for you guys, for you and Nancy, they could be under 70 and they'd be young. I don't know, it just seems Nancy's turn, okay?
To do what?
Be picked on.
To be picked on. Number 3, let's quick. Who'd you meet? Just
Kimberly.
Kimberly? Who's Kimberly?
Who's Kimberly, Carolyn?
Who is Kimberly? There's a Mars factory, chocolate factory.
Oh no, we're not going there, are we?
For real.
We are.
So we had driven by a couple times and thought that very interesting, thought that would be cool to stop by. And today we're coming home from delivering a Bible, which was an amazing experience, coming into the presence of the Lord with a older lady that is very close to the end. So that was precious with Christy. Anyway, so it was one of those, God just kind of goes, turn on in. So we turned into this Mars factory, and
Well, let me interrupt you. And you had the nerve to talk about Krispy Kreme
I didn't.
donuts. All right, go ahead.
so we go in, and we had no idea what was inside, and we walked in, and it wasn't a chocolate factory. That's where they prepare the nuts and the combo little pretzel bites, and but there was a security guard, and she was behind the window, and she opened it up, and we wanted to take a photo, kind of do a little photo shot in front of the M&M people on the wall. So
Goodness gracious, and I had such high respect for chaplains.
yeah, so and this was my partner and I and Christy, and this woman, we weren't able to take a photo, but so I asked her if there was something we could pray for her, and she said, how did you know? How did you know? You know, kind of tears welled up, and of course then you could say we didn't, but God did. She had just been to the doctor, and she wasn't able to explain what happened. She was at work, and I believe we're on camera the whole time. But she was overwhelmed with God's goodness. We explained to her what we were doing as chaplains in town and what Samaritan's Purse was doing, and that touched her heart deeply, that God cared about her community. And then I asked if we could pray right there, and she said, not really appropriate, and really wanted to be careful in her job situation. So we just started talking to God as if He was right there with us. And so if that was seen on camera, it was just a conversation between the four of us. And her tears flowed. She felt like God hadn't forgotten. And of course we could say God knows, and He cares, and He sent people from far away to love and care for her.
To stop in the chocolate factory.
To stop it. So, and then too, we were able to say, it wasn't about a chocolate factory. It was about God loving a girl, one of His girls, one of His daughters. So it's bigger than what we know.
It is.
And when you follow that Spirit's promptings, and it kind of seems silly, like, really? Just go with that, because He loves each of you and wants to do the same for you, but He also may want to use you to touch somebody else's life, and which brings Him glory. And that's what it comes down to.
That's
so it
cool.
was just precious.
Where do you live? Where's home?
Tampa, Florida.
Wow. Okay. So here's the deal. A chaplain comes to Albany, Georgia, as a chaplain, thinking that all these other things are the reason you come. And a lady in a chocolate factory is one of the real reasons that you come. Now, that same God directs our lives. In fact, we read it last night, didn't we? Men roll the dice, but God determines where they land. People God calls from Tampa to Albany, but God determines why it is you're there. Aren't you proud, just personally, aren't you grateful to discover a God who knows how to put you exactly where you need to be to make a difference, maximum impact on somebody else's life, and you thought it was picking up debris? How cool is that? Christy says that I'm out of time. Let's go right to number 7. Describe God moments today.
Can I jump in? I know I've been talking too much.
No, Charlie, that's fine.
No, I tend to ramble on, so I'm going to try to get through this. First of all, Leaf is an inspiration. Yeah. He's calming, his demeanor, he's focused, he's godly, and he helps us in every way. Now, I wasn't going to share this, and I don't know if I can get through it. My feet were killing me by 9:30 in the morning. I mean, I thought I was walking on nails all day. And we're at the last house, and I'm trying to rake. People up there working, I'm feeling really Irish. So I want to stay away from people because I'm liable to bite their head off. So I'm raking, and I turn around, and there must have been a water meter there. And I hit it, and I go down. And I'm there on my hands and knees. And I hear this voice laughing at me. And it was just as sure as it was on my back. It was the deceiver. And he was there. And then I heard this voice come to me and say, "Get up, son. You can do this." And Jesus Christ lifted me up. And my feet still hurt, but I felt good. And I felt the joy that I had in the morning. And I don't want to make this more than just about my sore feet. But I know Jesus Christ lifted me up today. And that's why I'm talking tonight. He directed me to talk tonight. Amen. To be part of this participation the way I should be, the way I know I could be. And I thank my family for listening.
Well, there's my God moment. Thank you, Charlie. That's
one close. I just had to share.
No.
I had to share.
And let me just add this. I know you're tired, and lots of you have feet that hurt, and you would like to be in bed. But the reason we do this every evening is to hear those stories. That's the reason, and to hear this story. And if you ever wonder what it means to be a part of the team, you wouldn't know this if we just took dinner and went to bed, and you would not hear this. I don't know about you, but my bet is that if you had an opportunity to write it again, you would too say, "Charlie was your God moment," and you wouldn't have known that happened. Frank.
Yeah, Phil sat with Bill's at breakfast this morning, and I got to talking to him. He reminded me a lot of my nephew. I'm just kind of glad that he got on one of the guys' teams.
Yeah,
nice
seems
guy.
like a nice kid.
Oh, really nice.
Great. That's your God moment. Somebody else. God moment.
Mine was, I have this same God moment all the time over different things, but it's the cotton field today just impresses on me the creativity of God, and just seeing that field, or seeing a hummingbird as compared to a penguin or a pelican. The cotton field was my God moment. Just the creativity of God just overwhelms me constantly.
It's pretty amazing, isn't it? Y'all do realize that's your dad. That's your dad who created that kind of thing. And you'd had to be there. I mean, I don't know if y'all got the chance to see cotton, and did I tell you that we got the chance to pick cotton today? We did. But the reality is that you look at it and you realize this didn't just happen. I mean, men may plant it, but who makes it grow? Southern ag doesn't make it grow, I can tell you that. They may fertilize it, but God makes it grow. Great.
But
Somebody.
you speak about what you just said, who makes things grow.
I don't have an answer for that.
That was perfect. I don't know how that happened. But that was perfect, wasn't it? That show you Earth does not have an answer for that.
Well, God had a great answer today, and I'm going to tell you, we're all out there doing our part, and we've heard this tonight, and this is still so great, but when we walked up this morning, and Vivian's house was our first home this morning, there was just something there. I could feel Satan just yanking her down. I knew something was wrong. I mean, her demeanor was completely different from what you all saw tonight. Where she started out this morning and where she ended up at the end of this day was an awesome God moment. But the whole point is that each and every one of my team going and talking to that lady and loving and hugging on her. You heard her tonight. That is what really did it. And as the time went on, we all knew, and we all just kept going. It just kept coming in my mind, and I just kept praying for her, and coming back when I had the opportunity to talk to her, I just knew there were some bad things going on in her life. She's been in some things that we would never think that, and she didn't share all that tonight. But us being there for her today, and then when the chaplains came up, they asked if, should we speak to her, and I said, absolutely. And they spent probably about 35 minutes out there with her. But I just kept praying, Lord, I know you're intervening in here. I know there's something going on that's different that needs to be taken care of right now. She was completely lost. She turned her life over to Christ today. And that was my God moment, because that's like she said, and we've all been talking tonight, that's what we're there for.
Yeah.
And it wasn't me, it wasn't Elisa, it wasn't anyone else that was on my team. It was all us together, and we were all working with that.
How amazing. And let me just add another layer to it. What are the odds? How many of our team do you have on your team?
12.
No, I mean our people.
11. 1, 2, 3, 4.
No, I'm talking about our. But here's the point I'm making. Let's assume you have five BTS people on your team.
Yeah.
What are the odds the 5 of you would have come had the whole team not come? Vivian could possibly still be in her sin if Gregory hadn't come and he didn't even serve on your team.
Right.
Because he filled out the team. You understand what I'm saying? Is that every single one of you sitting around this table have a fingerprint on Vivian tonight.
That's right.
And when you meet her in heaven, she will know your fingerprint, and you didn't even serve on their team.
You're right.
Isn't that an amazing reality? That here we are over picking cotton.
And eating Krispy Kreme.
But not at the chocolate factory. But seriously, this is important to realize that when, and Ken and I kind of had this unspoken conversation at the table. Leaf and you guys are sitting up there with her, but she's ours. I don't mean alone, but she's yours, but she's ours. when you go to bed tonight, I want you to thank God for Vivian and that you were responsible for introducing her to Jesus Christ, because you were. If y'all had stayed home, Leaf wouldn't have come. I mean that in a affirming sort of way.
Oh, yeah.
All right, quickly. Is it 8:30 yet?
It's 8:49.
Oh wow, good. Is that past 8:30? I need a couple more God moments. What are they?
For me, a God moment. I walk into Tommy's house, a yard, and the Holy Spirit said to speak to him, but different people were speaking to him. So I went and picking up things, and then Steve was talking to him. Then I was picking up the trash, and he said, "Give me that. You go talk to him." And so, I went, but I spent a lot of time talking to him. And when we see people, we don't know their story. This guy's been through a lot. Anger, bitterness from Vietnam. His son died recently, 51 years old. He died of a heart attack. He had cancer, COPD, peripheral vascular disease, so he had stents and everything. And his wife has fibromyalgia. So neither of them can help their yard. They couldn't do it. Neither of them could do it. He tries to work to supplement their income, but he has COPD, so he can't do a whole lot. And so the thing is, he's a veteran. His name is Tommy, my unsung hero in the Christian faith. He's a Vietnam vet, and he's Tommy. So we had a little connection there talking about that. But the sovereignty of God, something he told me, he and his wife, they were 14 and 17 when they got engaged. Her dad would not let her marry him because he was going off to military. So they never got married. He married, his wife died from cancer. She had 2 failed marriages. 35 years later, they were married. And they've been married for 20 years.
Wow.
And you talk about the sovereignty of God, He brought them back together after all those years. So he's been through a lot, but I spent so much time, so he wanted prayer for his wife. We prayed for her with him, and it was just, everything about him was a connection I could make.
See,
he has glaucoma, my husband, legally blind because of glaucoma. So we talked about that too. It was so much in a connection, a God moment for me.
We would not have known that had you not talked to him. How amazing. Men roll the dice, but God determines how they land. I'm just telling you right now. Thank you. Somebody else, quickly, God moment. Anybody?
Presenting the Bible to Nettie.
Nettie. Okay.
She's an Alzheimer's patient that's bedridden.
Oh, she's from Monday when we.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
She was bedridden and we couldn't get in there. Miss Peggy, the daughter.
Daughter
had
Peggy,
left for work already. The nurse was there.
So you guys went today.
Went back to give it to her.
That's cool. That's great. Somebody else, God moment?
For me, Vivian.
Vivian?
And I thought, well, this is going to be another, typical yard. But then I was walking back through there and I seen Vivian hugging some woman. I don't know who she was.
Patty.
Is it Liz's mom? Anyway, I went on to work. Back through there and I came back again. And she was still hugging the same woman. And I kept working and I came back and she was still hugging the same woman.
Aww.
I thought, there's something going on here.
Y'all were in the presence of greatness today.
Mm-hmm.
We were. That's kind of what I thought tonight. It's like, I just wanted to be here. I was content just to come, but now that when you come, you see, it's humbling because it's like you're in the presence of greatness around you, and the people you've been around, they have no idea. You can't explain it to them.
You cannot. You go back home and you try to explain this experience, there's no way to do it.
Pictures. Sometimes we even forget it.
Yeah,
it
we do.
Take long.
We
just
do.
kind of.
It is amazing.
To watch what I watched this morning.
It is amazing.
Yes, our last homeowner was a 96-year-old lady. Her name was Miss Alice, the one that the lady, I told her to talk about it, you know. And the thing that you were saying last night, you know, like let go, she told us her story during the storm. She was 96 and she had only one child and she died but left her with 8 children. So now she's living with the grandchildren and great-great-great-grandchildren. And they were so concerned about her that night that she was told that a grandson was going to pick her up and bring her somewhere because of the storm. And she already packed like 2, you know, luggages. While she was doing that and waiting for the grandson, she was thinking, why am I doing this? I should really trust the Lord. So she didn't go with the grandson. She stayed there and she said, I just trusted him. I heard all this wind and she just said, okay, Lord, if you want to get me tonight, get me. But she said, here I am. And I told her, you know what? God has plans for you. And maybe one of the plans is for us to meet you. And she was so happy about that.
How cool. How cool. All right, we're done. I want to go around starting with Leaf. Give me one word that describes your day, right at the bottom of the page.
Magnificent.
15. Huh? Magnificent. Awesome. Special.
Frustrating.
Frustrating.
Mine is unworthiness.
Unworthy.
How Vivian said she was unworthy, then we all covered it up, you know, and she felt better.
Blessed.
Awesome.
Awesome.
Greatly blessed.
Greatly blessed. That's 2, but we'll take it.
Fulfillment.
Fulfilled. Great.
Experience.
Experience.
Gratitude.
Gratitude.
Interesting.
Interesting.
Good day.
Good. Good day. Good.
Fun.
Fun. Whoa!
15.
Special.
Awesome.
Awesome.
Satisfying.
Amazing.
Love.
Love.
Blessed.
Blessed. What's one word that describes the day?
Fantastic.
All right. I want you to, as we leave tonight, I want you to pray for Joe. Joe is the security guy in the prison. We're going to go present the Bible to him tomorrow. He has an appointment with Sam and whoever shows up, Irvin or Larry, whomever goes with him. But their intent is to see Joe come to know Jesus Christ. Now, God, we roll the dice. God determines how they land, so I don't know if tomorrow's his day. But would you remember Joe, as a result of cleaning his house, this hardened security guy is broken, and that's the reason we want to go present the Bible, and so pray for him.
Last trip around, we had a sheriff deputy, he was that way.
Yeah, that's exactly right. This guy's probably harder than the one we had last time, but I mean he's a hard guy. Doesn't get along with any of his neighbors. I mean he's just a hard guy. But he too was in tears when we drove away, and so just pray for Joe. Father, thank you for this team. Thank you for the amazing opportunity to serve you. I think if I'd have gotten an extra word, it would be the same one that Alicia said, just humbling. To think that people like us can show up and do such menial tasks in the grand scheme of technology and all the things we can't do. And Vivian comes to an eternal decision, receive you and her sins forgiven. That is humbling to us. And we go to bed tonight not only rejoicing for her, but thinking, I wonder who tomorrow's Vivian will be. May it energize us, I pray, in Jesus' name. Amen.